Alright guys, so before we get started, just pause the video at this point and just copy down what you see on the screen. Once you do that, we can get into India and I will walk you through what we are looking at. Alright, great. So, as you can see in the map, India is what we call a subcontinent. A subcontinent is an area of land that is kind of separate from kind of the rest of the land around it. India is separated from the rest of the land by these two mountain ranges. You see in the northwest we have the Hindu Kush, and in the northeast we have the Himalayas. All right, obviously huge mountains. They're going to provide protection for the people of India. They also are kind of a natural barrier from the rest of the land. So that's going to be important. Down south, we have both the Indian Ocean and the Bay of Bengal, right, providing even more protection from the south. So they're going to create their own little subculture in their subcontinent with kind of little interaction at first with other civilizations. Eventually, they're going to be really great at trade, but for now, we have this subcontinent. Importantly, ancient India kind of settled along a river, the Indus River in this example, right? Not unlike the Mesopotamians, not unlike the Egyptians, right? All revolving around a river. What are rivers good for? Obviously, we're beating a dead horse here, but farming, transportation, and more importantly, it's going to deposit silt, which is just a fancy word for rich soil. All right. The climate of India is going to be affected by seasonal monsoons. Monsoons are just really, really strong, high wind. From April to October, the monsoons are going to come from the southwest. It's going to bring a lot of rain, but it's also going to provide kind of wind in order to push boats to trade. In the northeast, from November to March, the monsoons are going to switch direction and the wind's going to flow into India coming from the northeast. This is going to dry the temperature out. So they're going to have different seasons of two kind of different extremes. So that's really basically what you need to know for the geography of India. We'll have more on Mohenjo-Daro and the actual cities next. All right, so the thing that you really need to know about the Indus River Valley and these first people that are kind of starting their civilization is that they're incredibly methodical, meaning they've thought out kind of before occupying this area, they've thought to build things. So it's what we call the planned city. If you go to Google Maps right now and search Washington, D.C., or Indianapolis, Indiana, from an overhead, you can see that clearly before people were kind of inhabiting this area, they made the roads so that they make sense. They created a sewer system. It's going to be the same with these people in the Indus River Valley. They're going to be very methodical and think about where they're putting streets, where they're putting different buildings, and they developed their own sewer system, which is incredible. It's going to take us about 4,000 more years to figure out that sanitation is important and linked to disease. These guys clearly knew that way, way earlier. So because of this, this doesn't happen for no reason. They obviously have a very strong central government that's making these decisions and planning this. The next thing they were very successful at was trade. They had contacts way beyond their little subcontinent of India. How do we know this? Well, we know that they obviously traded with Mesopotamia because we found some Indus River Valley seals. Not seals the animal, obviously, but seals meaning kind of a logo. So if I was, let's say, a pottery maker, I would have my own seal so that people know that this pot came from my little business. So we found that these seals have traveled all the way to Mesopotamia, so clearly they were obviously trading and exchanging goods and ideas with other civilizations. The first really big city in this Indus River Valley area is going to be called Mohenjo-Daro. Okay, their population was 35,000. So think roughly the population of Darien and New Canaan combined. It's about a little over half of the population of Greenwich. All right, so clearly a lot of people living here, depending on each other, doing business with each other, that sort of thing. Okay, again, we're going to have planned streets, a sewer system, and then they're going to build what's called the Great Bath. Not a very original name for it, but that is what's called the Great Bath. All right, it's going to be a place where they hold religious ceremonies, but it's also going to be a place where obviously they're going to wash themselves. So again, linking that sanitation with good health and lack of disease. They were way ahead of their time. They were a huge producer of pottery. They traded that a lot with other cultures, and they're going to have a big grain surplus. They're going to have obviously the Indus River producing silt, so they're going to have a lot of harvested grain. They're going to put them in granaries, which is just the storage facilities that you put grain in, and they're going to obviously use that as kind of a government organization. The government's going to decide how they divvy that up, and who gets how much food. So again, playing into that whole fact of a strong central government. What's really interesting about Mohenjo-Daro and these early people of the Indus River Valley is that they're all just going to disappear suddenly. We don't know if it was a bad harvest season and they had to flee, or there was a great flood that wiped a lot of them out, or they were invaded by another group of people. We just don't know. There are lots of theories out there, but we still haven't figured out kind of what their cause of disappearance was. All right, make sure we get all those notes down, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night.